Sucio Talk. Sucio Talk live every Monday at 10. Hopefully you guys are doing good out there. Sucio Talk live Monday. What up, Chef? Chef Thoughts and Pictures. Hit me up on Instagram. How you doing? We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on a lot of other places. It's best to watch on YouTube. That way you get all the sounds. But you can still roll with me here on Instagram if you guys would like. I got the headphones up to the speaker there, so I don't know if it's echoing right now, but hey, it's all good. Lots to talk about, guys. Lots of fucking shit to talk about. Nathan, what up, B? Long time, bro. It's true. You get busy and you just fucking bury your head in the sand. Then when you fucking lift up, you're like, oh shit, Nathan. What up, Nathan? Hope you're doing a good chef out there where you're at. Greenville, one of the Carolinas. I had the pleasure of having some dinner there. That was fucking delicious. We got my old cook Tartino up in here. What up, Tartino? How you doing, bro? Where you cooking at? Down south? Tartino, papi. ¿Cómo está? Chef Marco Rodriguez out there in D.C. working that late shift out here, putting it down for Puerto Ricans in the kitchen. Puerto Ricans in Michelin. You know what I mean? Lots to talk about, guys. All right, so here we go. I won't waste your time. 510-463-1145. You guys can call in, chill out on the show. All right, so James Beard fallout. Regardless of your take on James Beard, they're part of the fucking ecosystem of food. So here we go. I live streamed the entirety of the event. It was like 3.5 hours. I did that just off the cuff. I saw it was going on. I was like, you know what? Let me do it. Sports Center of Food. Once again, we're going to look closely. We're going to analyze at what's going on in the industry. They got a tough job ahead of them, guys. And look, they're not going to do a good job. You know, they're not. They're just going to try to do what they can as the time passes, right? So all we can do is try to support them in every way. Is there some bullshit that's going to go down? Of course. You know, that's just what it is. You know what I mean? Our whole country's fucking falling apart, all right? So I think I'm just going to focus on the James Beard Awards. You know what I mean? Shout out to all the winners. Khan, Gregory, Gourdet. Every city had a good win. To the chefs that got nominated, went all the way there and lost. It's all good, bro. You come back next year, you'll be all right. Soleil Ho, they stopped by my live stream while I was doing it. I think they might like it. They might not. I know they're listening. They're out there, you know. They're listening to Sucio Talk. They know that I'm near. Okay? So, suciotalk.com/donations if you guys want to donate to the show, help me keep this shit free and independent, right? If we keep it that way, then we won't have the James Beard situation going down, right? Eater also, right? They're held by Vox Media, so they also have some restrictions on the things that they can talk about. That's why they have to do so much research before they put these articles out. But as I said, this is a play-by-play of what's going on day to day. The only thing I think James Beard needs to change about how they're going about this is we need to know who the members of the group of people who choose or pick or deal with the people calling out, the whistleblowers, right? Dealing with the Timothy Hansa situation, which if you were watching James Beard, the motherfucker's name was still on the marquee. All right, they didn't take his name off of the James Beard thing as they put it up at the event, which is kind of confusing. Why would you do that? Why would you disqualify him and then put his name up there? Kind of weird. Maybe they didn't disqualify him. All I'm saying is, James Beard, be clear about everything, your intentions. And I think the first step is identifying who is the members of that group that chooses to unnominate chefs, to take chefs' beards, James Beard Awards away, or whatever it might be. As long as we can put a face to those people, that way we can, like, it should be a chef's court, right? In WWE and wrestling, they have wrestlers' court, all right? They take care of themselves. That's what we got to do as chefs, all right? And James Beard's trying to do that, but if we don't know who these people are, then how are we supposed to know if what they're saying isn't biased? You know what I mean? So we obviously need to let the time go, and we need to figure out how we are going to accept James Beard back into the ecosystem. I mean, they're in the fucking ecosystem. You know what I mean? All those chefs that won awards, congratulations. You know, do whatever you can with that win. But I will tell you, no matter how many fucking Michelin Star awards you get, no matter how many Michelin awards you get, a lot of these people are still unhappy. You know, it's a very hard job, especially if you're doing your food, right? Your passion project. I'm opening a restaurant, and I'm realizing, right, that fine dining doesn't make any money. All right, I think we all realize this way before Rene Redzepi said it. You know what I mean? It's expensive. You need about $500,000 to $1 million to open up anything. I mean, construction's expensive. Everything costs money, okay? So not to mention, once you get into being open, right, now you're reliant on, is my food good enough? Am I hitting my target audience? Are these people coming back on a daily basis, weekly basis? I don't know. So it's all very up in the air. It's all projections. And sometimes chefs get it wrong. But I will say that one of my friends listening to Thomas Keller on Guy Raz's podcast, How I Built This, Thomas Keller failed and failed and failed again. I mean, I think he tried to open like 6 restaurants and failed. So that goes to show you, and he opened the French Laundry when he was 40. You know what I mean? So I think we all got wrapped up in this youngest chef to win a Michelin star thing, and we all thought that if we didn't get Michelin stars before we were 30 years old, that we were trash. It's a different world, okay? It was a lot easier for a chef to open a restaurant just because everything cost less, right? Pre-pandemic, talking, you know, after we got out of the recession in 2008, maybe 2010 to 2020 was awesome, okay? Focusing on the positive, of course, you know what I mean? We had world wars and shit going down, but it's all good. Westfield, I was reading something today in the newspaper. This kind of has nothing to do with food, but Westfield malls, all right? I grew up going to the mall every Friday, son. Every Friday. I used to go to Westfield Meriden Mall. Shout out to Meriden. Shout out to Murder Den. It was like a scene out there. Everyone was there on Friday night. It was like, hey, you going to the mall? You going to the mall? The mall was the place where you hung out. It was the place where you met everyone after school. It was the place you fought if you had to fight. It was just like, you know, it was where you hooked up with your girlfriend. It's what you did, you know, and now I don't know what mall culture is like. Although I will say, when I was in Greenville, one of the Carolinas, and I had to go buy a shirt to go eat dinner at Homeboy's restaurant, Nathan Kryler's his club that he cooks at, the Point Set Club. And when I went to that mall, it was a Friday night, and there was all the high school kids. So it kind of reminded me, it took me back to those days where you just hang out at the mall. You know what I mean? Go to stores. You don't got no money. You know what I mean? You just window shopping. You just South Carolina. There we go, Nathan. Geography is not my strong suit. All right, that's why I make omelets for a living. Okay, here we go. So the reason why I brought up the Westfield is because they're closing the mall in downtown San Francisco. Do you know how iconic that is? I mean, this is one of the biggest malls on the West Coast in San Francisco that's run by Westfield. All the stores started closing down because of the increasing homeless population that's outside of that joint. I mean, if you go to downtown San Francisco during the day, it's like a party out there for homeless people. They're rocking their music out loud as fuck, just hanging out on the corner, hanging out in front of stores and all that. So it's a riff-raffy place, right? There's a lot of shit going down. And people just don't want to deal with that when they're going into stores, spending a lot of money, coming out, and straight up getting robbed for their shit, you know? And now because the police is decriminalized here in the Bay, it's like anything under $1,000 is not worth their time, right? So I don't know what's going to happen with that, but closing Westfield Mall in San Francisco is a big deal. And so hopefully something else opens there, maybe a huge-ass food hall, right? Because I think that if anything, it is food and hospitality that's going to bring back San Francisco to where it needs to be, all right? I got some upcoming podcasts. I got Manish Tyagi of Aram, all right? That dude worked in international kitchens in India and all over the world, really. He's a badass dude. Family man. He's got a restaurant down in the Bay. All right. And then you got Andrew Cheng. You love to hate him. All right. He's eaten at more restaurants than you. That's just facts. Okay. Look at the guy's resume. That's his resume right there, where he eats. There is no professional chef that has the time to go eat as many spots as he does. So I would say that if Andrew Cheng comes to your restaurant and eats, you ask him how the food was, and you take his word for it because he knows, and he's not a dick. You know, he's not going to be rude about it, right? If you don't want to know, don't ask him because he's always going to tell the truth, right? Then we got Adam Gordon of Knights Valley Wagyu. Homeboy lives out in Sonoma Valley. Beautiful property. I mean, dude's got mini horses running up in there like dogs. It's dope. Then that's about it for podcasts with guests. Obviously, we're still live at 10 every Monday here in the studio in Oakland. All right. Past that, Top Chef, bro. What's up with Top Chef? Buddha Low wins. I pulled up his bio here, right? He's born on August 19th, 1991, right? 31 years old, known professionally as Buddha Low, Australian chef and television personality. He is best known for winning 2 consecutive seasons of the American television series Top Chef, becoming the series' first 2-time winner. Born in Australia, Chinese-Malaysian parents, raised in Port Douglas. His father owned a Chinese restaurant. He earned the nickname Buddha due to becoming chubby from eating too much of his dad's food. I like that. He started working at his family restaurant at the age of 12. At age 14, he began a school-based culinary apprenticeship, working at a 5-star hotel. And then he moved to Melbourne after high school. He got a job at Mateo's restaurant, and he enrolled at the William Angus Institute. Hot take, Chef Mark Rodriguez, respect to Buddha Low, but the recent Top Chef seasons have been trash. You're right, Chef. You know why? It's because the money gets in it, man. The money gets in it. It becomes like a huge ad, and that's what happens to everything. You know, and then they do spin-offs, and sometimes it kind of dilutes the original product. And if you look at the history of Top Chef, I would say that right now in the status of food and social media, the losers of Top Chef are most times doing better than the winners. All right? Even if you lose at Top Chef, you could still make a career out of it. I know motherfuckers that lost at Top Chef that charged $10,000 for speaking engagements. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to dog them. It's all good. You got to get your money. But that's it. You could show up on Chopped one time, lose, and still say you've been on TV. You know? So the TV chef life is growing strong. I mean, you got cooking shows on Fox, Bravo, Food Network, obviously. There's so many more past that. I mean, the app Som TV has fucking food media on it now. And so it's kind of like an arms race to see who's going to make the next show. But, you know, your boy over here is Brown Bourdain. Ain't nobody else like him. So once he gets his shit together, opens this restaurant, makes this podcast worldwide, right? Known worldwide, then we're going to start on the Brown Bourdain show, which is basically me eating at places all over the world, chilling out. And, you know, that's the vision. So a lot of people are like, well, you can't say your vision because then somebody else going to do it. I hope they do it. They won't be like me. You understand? I'm held by nothing but the rocks, the moon, the sun, and the stars. That's it. Okay? It's all we're made of. Not afraid of nothing. So Buddha Low, shout out to you. He also worked at some badass restaurants, bro. He worked for Raymond Capaldi for 2 years. He moved to London. He worked for Claire Smith. He worked for Matt Abe at restaurant Gordon Ramsay. And I'll tell you right now, fucking Matt Abe is one of the nicest, most humblest chefs I've ever met in my life. This dude staged at Meadowood. At first, I didn't recognize him. I didn't know who he was. And they told me, yo, that's the CDC of Ramsay in London. And I'm like, yo, the 3-star? Yes, the 3-star. By the way, Buddha Low also won the Gordon Ramsay Excellence Award. And shout out to Tucker Riccio. She just won the Gordon Ramsay show Next Level Chef, which is like a 3-kitchen crazy competition where you got 3 kitchens, top to bottom. The top is more of a fine diner. The second is a little bit more run down. And then the third looks like a damn refugee camp out here, you know? Butters of Yountville, you don't got what it takes to be Brown Bourdain. I'm sorry, bro. We're just going to have to address that right now. All right? No offense. Then, so Top Chef, as we were talking about it, right? Buddha Low, shout out to him. Winner, 2-time winner. And then I caught this article. So, as we all know, Padma Lakshmi is leaving Top Chef. All right, Padma Lakshmi is amazing. She was the host for 19 seasons, dog. 19 seasons. And she had an article from Eater, right? Say what you want about Eater. I get my food news from there, right? So, hey, what are you going to do? That's why I got the hotline, though, because I'm trying to get my own news. You know what I mean? So, basically, it's called What Padma Lakshmi Wants You to Know About Her Top Chef Departure. All right, so here we go. After 19 seasons with Bravo's ever-enduring Top Chef, Padma Lakshmi announced last week that it's her turn to pack her knives and go. Damn, she eliminated herself, son. She's been nominated for multiple Emmy Awards for her work. Apparently, Katie Lee Beagle first hosted the show, which I don't remember. I do know that the first winner of Top Chef was Harold. Shout out to Harold. I don't think he has restaurants anymore, but we got to look that up. Last time I heard about Harold was a few years ago, and his restaurants were closing. So just so you know, chefs, sometimes your food, right, your cuisine, it doesn't make money, okay? Let's be real. So, you know, shout out to all these chefs out here that are doing pop-ups and then opening a restaurant on their own accord. Like, that shit is hard work, dog. All right? And so, as I'm reading the article, it says, after a divisive recent season, which I had no idea that they had an issue, but says Top Chef now finds itself in a bit of an existential dilemma. It's a candid, wide-ranging new interview with Ashley Lee of the Los Angeles Times, and the first to directly address her departure. Damn, she got the exclusive, son. She wants to prioritize Taste the Nation. So Lakshmi's culture-focused food show, the second season of which hit Hulu last month, consumes me in the best way. Intellectual, spiritually, creatively. This is her talking. and I just want to keep making it. So Lakshmi did her time at Top Chef, and now she's got her own show called Taste the Nation. Love that. Allows her to be her full self. I know what you mean, Padma. They probably had you, hey, you can't say that. Hey, that's a little ghetto. I know how they are. She wasn't always taken seriously. She acknowledged to the Times that she had been dismissed by chefs on the show, but didn't elaborate further. Good for her for not snitching. As Herman writes in Variety, early press about Lakshmi's role on Top Chef was openly or at least implicitly sexist, reducing Lakshmi to her appearance or her relationships. Very true. They did do that. One moment of validation came from Chef Eric Repair, who Lakshmi says told her, just because you have not worked in the back of a restaurant, don't think that you don't belong. Boom! We should take that one for Andrew Cheng, too. Just because you have not worked in the back of a restaurant, don't think that you don't belong. All right? These are all characters in a play. You need everyone. Hamilton can't do the play by his fucking self. You need the rest of the cast to tell the story. She cares about the contestant. Lakshmi is proud of the way Top Chef impacted both chefs and food TV. Even from the start, we didn't want it to be one of those lowest common denominator shows, humiliating the contestants or making it gossipy and not about the food. That made all of our skin crawl, Lakshmi says. I'm extraordinarily proud that the real stars of our show are the contestants and that's not an accident. She was the only one who ate everything on the show, every single thing. God bless her. Sorry to season 2's Elan Hall, but his chocolate-covered liver dish stands out to Lakshmi as the all-time worst dish. Okay? All-time worst dish. I don't know. Didn't eat it. By comparison, Buddha Lowe's beef with beets in season 19 and the late Fatima Ali's, rest in peace, deconstructed samosa in season 15 were some of the best. Fatima Ali, I met her when she came to do a stage at the restaurant at Meadowood through a scholarship that she won. And I didn't know that, but at the time she was training. She was doing a YouTube series about staging at the restaurant at Meadowood, but also training to be on Top Chef. And, obviously she had an early passing and, rest in peace. Shout out to her family. I hope everything's okay. But will always be remembered in food. And I'm glad that I actually got to meet her in person. She wants to push TV food further, as Lee points out in the interview. Let's see. As Lee points out in an interview, Lakshmi's final season included an Indian food challenge, and she often taken chefs to task over bad rice. That is the worst. Learn how to cook rice, B. As a chef, you owe it to yourself. You owe it to your family. If you don't know how to cook rice, quit the job. Walk out the back door, or ask the guy next to you to show you. Lady, they, whoever. All right? So Padma Lakshmi is out. But during that, I read this article that came up about Top Chef and what's going on. And here it goes. This article is on Vulture, all right? Chef Mark Rodriguez says, some of the best food critics in the New York Times never spent a day in a pro kitchen. You damn right, bro. If you're a food critic, I don't, while I respect anybody that takes their time to learn what the craft is, critics generally don't make movies. Right? They're critics. Okay? I don't think that a creator can really be a critic, right? Because those two things, kind of combat each other. So we need critics, guys. As part of the ecosystem. Not everyone's going to like you. They're also trying to advance their careers as writers, as respected members of food, right? So we need to let them be able to do their own thing. And get to where they want to go, right? And I was talking to somebody today about the fact that you can be in magazines before your product's even out these days. You can be in all types of publications before anything happens, right? And now if that project gets left behind, what happens? Now you can't come back and have any marketing for it. So I think sometimes it's better to start small and then you grow it, right? That way your marketing matches the reality of what it is that you're serving. Because most of the time, I would say maybe half the time, CJ Sullivan asked me, do you think critics lack context by not creating? That's a tough question, man. But like Roger Ebert, right? That dude never made a damn movie in his life. You know what I mean? He was a student of the game. He watched the movies, and I think that as a chef too, like you can learn more by sitting at the table at your own restaurant that you can with your head down looking at the saute pans, right? I would like them to have some kind of experience, I guess, a little bit, but I don't really think that like discounts you from being a critic. I think you become a critic by putting in your time, traveling on your own budget to go to these restaurants, taking your time to write an article about it, right? Because ain't no chefs doing that, right? So we need them to do that for us so we can get our message out there, right? And if they choose to destroy you, right, and they choose to write a bad article about you, first off, anytime you get punched in the face, even if it's not your fault, you still got to like look at it and say, well, what could I have done in that situation to like diffuse it or make it better, right? So anytime you get a bad review, it's very easy to say, fuck these people, they don't know what they're talking about. But maybe, just maybe, right, they have some valid points. At the end of the day, you live and die by your guest. So whatever they say, right, they're not always right, but you need to take everything they say in and be like, okay, is that bullshit? Is that not? Discern and move forward. If you see the same review over and over again, the pasta's too salty. It's too salty, chef. There's chefs out there that'll be like, it's not too salty. It's like, this is the way it's supposed to be, right? And if 20 people are saying it's too salty, chef, then maybe, just maybe, it's too salty. You know what I mean? How many shitty cooks you work with in Michelin kitchens that you don't care to hear their opinions? That's very true. I will say that there you go. Nathan Kryler hit me up with, you can only improve through the criticism. Compliments don't do shit. That is definitely right. I also feel like compliments sometimes are like the same, like how many times have you heard this? Oh my God, I love it. It's like the fakest fucking shit ever, just give me the real. I'm about the real. If you're a chef and you're my friend and you come into the restaurant, there's going to be an inquisition and I want to know what was good, what was not good, what you didn't like. And I'm not going to take it personal, bro. Because that's the only way that you're going to get better. We started taking shit personal. Also, the people that are reading the articles started taking it too literal. Instead of saying, oh, look at this bad article, let me see for myself if it's really this bad. Because honestly, if somebody write like a really detailed article about how shitty a restaurant is, I want to go see it for myself. Because I want to see if it's really that bad, How many movies that have you watched where critics say this movie sucks, but it's actually good, right? A lot of that shit happens all the time. Removing yourself from the equation is definitely critical. That's the toughest balance of being a chef. It's a very personal industry. Feelings are involved, right? In a workplace where feelings cannot be involved. And so you're trying to cook with love, right? But also within this sort of like, I'll say corporate mindset, because there's rules, right? And as we see, when there's no rules, what happens? Hi, Felicia. That's what happens. All right. I had a lot of hope for that restaurant, and Imana and all the things that she was trying to do over there with her team. I mean, at the end of the day, she made a brick and mortar out of doing dinners in her apartment, which is pretty fucking fascinating if you ask me, right? There was a lot of hate around town. There's a lot of people talking shit, I never had her food, so I don't know. But I can tell you that she, it's just facts, has not spent a lot of time in restaurants, like putting in her time to learn the craft. And that is important. You need to put in the time, learn the craft before you go out into the world and say, I'm a chef, I'm going to open a restaurant. It ain't that easy. Especially a restaurant that's trying to disrupt the status quo of what restaurants are, So she got buried in Hi Felicia, and most of it is sexual harassment shit, which I'm not fucking down with, right? So if you're going to do that to your staff, then whatever. You deserve all the consequences that happen out of that. I do feel like, because I had Selassie Doce on the show probably 3 weeks prior to that article coming out. She didn't say shit to me about that article coming out. It's probably because the article was coming out, okay? And I think that some chefs want to come on here and talk about that situation, but I kind of want to have a roundtable with Imana and everybody involved here, you know? I think that would be more productive because us sitting here just talking shit about her and fucking you know what I mean? It isn't going to do anything for the industry. Nobody's going to learn anything about it. And this is the same cycle that we're always in. Big headlines, nothing changes, and then we get outraged again when some shit goes down. Bro, you can't be doing that, you know? So she got roasted in Eater and multiple there's also a Reddit thread, guys. There's a fucking Reddit thread about this restaurant, which is wild. I don't think there's ever been a Reddit thread about the drama that's going on in a restaurant. But this is the life that we live now, okay? And as a chef that came from the old guard, right, the way that it used to be, it was fucking difficult, all right? You get roasted for no reason. You get yelled at, shit thrown at you. That's just what it was at the time, right? But I wanted to be the best, okay? And that is something that I guess I looked past, right? I don't think I ever had, anybody come at me in some, like, abusive way because let's face it, I don't play that shit. You know what I mean? So I was always on the defensive, and I always viewed cooking as a game, right? Whenever I showed up to Meadowood, I was like, I'm taking that person's job. And it wasn't like, I hate that person, I'm going to bring them down. No, it was like, I want to be the best, so I'm going to go and I want to be LeBron. You know what I mean? I want to be Jordan. Do you think Jordan and LeBron and the coaches for the NBA are out there being like, hey, guys, whenever you get a chance, just shoot the ball? No. They're out there, they're riding those dudes until they almost break. You understand? This is how you make champions. And so I was in a realm where we were trying to be championship kitchens, okay? I played for the fucking Yankees. Every night was Game 7. That's how important it was. Because people are not loyal to restaurants like they're loyal to sports teams. Sports team can lose for years, 20 years. You still love the team. If a restaurant does a shitty dish, bro, you won't go back there for another 5 years. And that's a shame. I feel like we really should give restaurants a couple of chances, right? There's some unforgivable shit. I just had a meal in San Francisco that was sort of unforgivable. And I'm not going to go into detail and tell you about the place or what it was, because I understand that I hold some kind of court here in the food industry, right? So I don't want to take anybody's business away. Also, I'm not a fucking critic, bro, right? I am solely commenting on what's going on in our industry, right? Here for you guys to answer questions, talk about things that are hard to talk about, all right? Because no one else is doing that. And if they are doing it, they're doing it with articles, right? So there's no time where you can really interview the journalist behind the article, which is kind of ridiculous. I'd like a place where we can open the forum up and have more access to the journalists who are writing these articles about the restaurants. That way we can get some kind of favorite LA restaurants. Favorite LA restaurant. That's a stumper. Damien's fire. Damien is hot fire right there. I can't really remember right now what other dinners I've had in LA. It's been a while since I gone out there and eaten. I ate at Otium. That was fire. But yeah, I don't really spend much time in LA. I think you guys have a restaurant. Yeah, of course, Yangban. That's not even like, I don't even have to say that, bro. You already know. Yangban, go get your Korean on. Providence too. I never been to Providence, but Charlie Apple says Providence is a fire LA restaurants. If any of you guys got favorite LA restaurants out there, put them in the chat. But we move on. We were talking about Top Chef. And so there was this article in Vulture about how basically Top Chef is coming down to an end. And for its first decade or so, Top Chef was a cutthroat contest with constant industry name dropping. And I have worked with Kat and John, CJ Sullivan. I have worked with them extensively. I worked with them at Meadowood. They were my chefs. Chef Kat, first CDC of, oh, here we go.
Call from. To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press.
Yo. Hello?
Yo, what's up, bro?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Yo, what's up, man? It's Mark.
Mark, what's up, Mark? How you doing?
Just chilling, man. Got off work. I'm watching your show. I had to call in.
Oh, word up. I love that. So what are you doing for work right now exactly?
Right now I'm at Cranes in D.C. I'm a sous chef there.
Okay, dope. Are you still mainly pastry, or are you doing savory?
Nah, man, I drop pastry. It's in my tool belt forever.
Right.
But,
I hear you.
They don't pay, and all the fucking savory cooks think they know how to do your job.
Right. That's right. And they're always asking you for shit.
Oh my God, bro.
You know, it's underutilized to get a pastry, under your belt and then go to savory. But I would say, man, that you're like in the top 5% of chefs, just based on how much pastry experience you have,
I appreciate that, brother. Thank you, man.
Yeah, man. Always do.
I pull once in a while. Once in a while, I'll pull out a trick here, there, and like, how you know that? How you know about this bread? How you know that? It's pastry.
Exactly, man. I mean, there's a lot of discipline in pastry that you learn. Like, even to make a recipe, there's so many savory recipes that I've done that it's just like, oh yeah, I'll fucking skimp a couple grams of this, skimp a couple grams of that. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, you do that in pastry, you're fucked, bro. That shit ain't rising. That shit ain't gonna be right.
And that's the shit that I like, deconstructing what every step of the way. And it's like, what went wrong? Was that too much of this, too much of that? Was it,
Yeah.
Did I need more water? Did I need more, whatever?
Yo, what made you,
savory recipes.
What made you go to pastry?
Bro, all right, man. I got twin girls, and I got out the army. I was cutting hair. And I got, my wife was pregnant with girls, so I was like, let me learn how to fucking bake. I felt like that was a girl thing.
Right.
And excuse anybody listening, excuse that part because I was ignorant at that time.
Right.
I went to pastry, and these girls grew up baking with their grandmas, 20 of them.
Right.
And they were all so good at like just clean shit.
Right.
My boy was working at Jean Georges, and he was like, bro, you ever check out a Michelin restaurant? Come to the Jean Georges. I had 3 Michelin stars at the time, never worked in a restaurant prior.
Right.
I went there, I got my mind blown by pastry, bro. And I just stayed with it.
Word up. What about it? What was like the moment that you were like, nah, this is it?
All right, man. So it was the first dessert I've ever tried, and at a restaurant that level.
Right.
And he was seasoning shit with bro. He put guajillo chili and peanut butter. It was something small. It was like a chocolate dessert.
Right.
Very simple, but he made me taste the peanut butter I was making, and then he adds the chili, and he was like, "Now taste it." And it didn't taste spicy. It wasn't spicy. He was like, the guajillo chili doesn't burn your mouth because of the amount of fat in the peanut butter.
Right.
He was like, but the effect of the capsicum, like the actual pepper part, that's not burning you, is making your tongue more active. And for me, that gave me chills because I tasted so much more of the peanut butter, levels to the shit.
Like right then and there, he was training your palate. Damn, bro. That guy,
he showed me it. It's like
he legitimately trained your palate in like 2 seconds, and you're like, whoa, what the fuck you just do to me? You know what I mean?
For real, his name was Sean.
His name
was Sean Considine. He's still the corporate pastry chef there. He's
dope, man, dope. So all said and done, what are your dreams with culinary? Like, what do you want to do? What's like your your magnum opus, if you will?
I used to think I wanted to do just Puerto Rican food, being part Puerto Rican, but I think more, I see New York disappear. New York as I knew it growing up, I see it disappearing.
Right.
And I have so many stories from growing up in New York. I feel like I grew up with Russians. I grew up with, fucking Yugoslavians. I grew up with Italians, Puerto Ricans. And as I live with these people, I live among them, they got so many stories to tell. Refugees from war. Some people some people are reformed criminals. Some people are, never seen the country they were born in. Like they don't remember it.
Right.
And they got all these stories and they share these recipes with me. And it all happened in a building. So when I think of that, I want a kind of like a menu inspired by the floors on the building.
Right. That's dope.
And I'm thinking like, apartment 1A, the fucking, my Serbian neighbors, up the block, my Croatian, up the next floor up, 2F is like my Croatian neighbors.
Right.
We used to all play with their kids, you know what I mean? Their countries were at war and they were getting slaughtered by each other, but it's weird you're in a building where all the kids are playing together, so I kind of want to make a restaurant that's dedicated to those life experiences. Right. Also, I'm sorry, man. I'm shivering. My fucking wife got the AC blasted.
It's all good,
I'm
bro.
like shivering.
It's all good, bro. You got to have that AC blast in the middle of summer, man. You don't want to be out there going out like that, bro. All sweating and shit in the middle of the night, No,
for real, bro.
Yeah, bro. For real. Thanks for calling in, man. I appreciate it. Man, I just
wanted to show love, man.
Yeah, bro, always, man. It's always love here, What do you make of all this fucking James Beard shit?
Yo, you know me, you know how I talk, bro. So James Beard, bro, for me, it's the way I describe James Beard, it's every company during June, during Pride Month, they're full of shit.
Right.
They're full of shit. I feel like James Beard is, I told you with that inclusivity shit, I'm cool. We got to be represented for sure.
Right.
But I don't want no participation trophies.
Exactly.
If I ever get a James Beard award, I don't want to feel like they gave it to me off of some sympathy shit or somebody was saying, hey, there's not enough Puerto Ricans getting James Beards, and then all of a sudden 5 of them get it the next year. Yeah. I don't want that shit. Mm-hmm. I want to go up against the best. I want to be nominated against Thomas Keller, Chris Cosell, fucking Eric Repair, and I want to win. Right.
Yeah, shit.
I don't care if they're all,
Yeah. Look, I was just talking about that High Felicia spot, and, that was, the wake of that was, hey, let's make an all-inclusive fine dining. But at the end of the day, sometimes in those environments, you can't have discipline. Because once you start having some kind of discipline, it's like, whoa. Why are you talking to me like that? Because I'm this? And it's like, bro, there's no room for that. Now, you were in the Army. Tell me how you dealt with like that kind of temperament in the Army. Because I know you're all together, but like you said, when you grew up with the Serbians and the Yugoslavians, like their country's at war, but their kids are playing. How did you deal with like racism in the Army and shit that like would normally keep you apart? How does that bring you together in that setting?
It's funny, man, because with that, there's people who, one of my closest friends from the Army is from Mississippi. His name's Bishop Whiteside. Mm-hmm. Never met a Puerto Rican person before. Really? He only knew them as Mexicans. So he never, he's a black kid from Tupelo, Mississippi, never met a Puerto Rican. So he was like, hey, Rod, Rodriguez, my last name. He was like, hey, Rod, what kind of Mexican are you? And I was like, exactly, right? I was like, bro, what do you mean, what kind of Mexican? Like,
you should have been like the ones that fly here.
Yeah. He was like, you one of them taco eating motherfuckers, or you one of those empanada eating motherfuckers? And I was like, you don't know what a Puerto Rican is, bro? And we had this, we broke it down, and I was like, because it's not Mexican, it's Hispanic or Latino. I try to break it down. Right. He always acted like he didn't get it, right? Yeah. And then one day, I remember we were sitting in a chow hall. There was Marines, Navy, Air Force. The Marines they were 18 years old, but they always thought they were the shit. Right. They weren't. They were just like kids who got bullied, who whatever. So they try to press me like, look at this motherfucker on Taco Tuesday eating had a plate full of tacos, though, Taco Tuesday. And he goes, yo, if the Mexicans are eating tacos, then the tacos are good here. They were like talking shit, a bunch of white kids.
Right.
And my boy was like, hey, motherfucker, hey, he ain't Mexican, he's Puerto Rican. It's a different kind of Mexican. And it was the most ignorant fight. It was the most ignorant conversation fight that we had. But I knew he had my back. I knew he was trying to understand it.
Right. That's dope, man. At least he took the time. There's a lot of people that are like, man. What? But yo, there's a large amount of people out here who straight up don't know that Puerto Rico is part of the U.S., man. I be getting asked like, did you have to get a green card? Do you have a passport? Like, what kind of money do you guys use?
You got papers.
Yeah, bro. I'm like, what kind of money do we use?
I use the American dollar.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be like, rocks, grass.
You ever played Mancala? We got a pocket.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You're right. We play with marbles, yo. Straight up. Dude, marbles are a big thing. But
as far as like the army shit, man, like when I met the white guys who've never seen black people except on TV, except in sports and shit like that. But
really,
you get past all that shit, and yeah, man, a lot of them Arkansas, Missouri, like in the boonies.
Right.
And they're in a town full of 30 people. And they go to, there's like 7 counties. I go to one high school, and they only got a class graduating 40 people.
Right.
So like those kind of kids, man, like coming up with them in the army and just understanding everybody comes from a different background and shit.
Right.
And as long as we put the mission first, as long as we put like, hey, I don't like you and we don't get along, you probably don't like me. But if you do right by me, I know in the heat of battle, in the heat of any kind of thing, I'll have your back.
Right. How long were you in the army?
There was a time with this one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was there for 5 years.
5 years, heard.
No, I was there for 5 years, and I just remember we had a bar fight. It was a stupid bar fight, but once again, it was like Marines, Navy, Air Force type shit. So I was kicking it with some Air Force guys I used to box with. He was on the boxing team.
Right.
So we're kicking it, we're drinking. And he's wearing his Air Force shirt. It's on post, so he's just kind of wearing his it's like his free T-shirt type shit.
Right.
And the Marines start talking, running off at the mouth, and my boy's on the boxing team. He can lace each and every one of them up if he wanted to, like with his hand. I've seen this kid with his hands.
Yeah.
And me and him were cool. So if he was fighting, I was fighting. So we get into this fight with these guys. He ends up actually swinging on the Marines first, so I had his back anyway.
Right.
And there was this guy that I never liked from my unit, but he saw me in a fight, and he came, and he was there fighting with us. He had our back 3 against 4.
Right.
And just knowing he had my back, knowing he didn't like me, made me love him, because I knew if it was war, he would have my back, right. And it wouldn't be a question of it. His mindset was the same, like, you're my boy, you're on my team, I'm going to rock with you.
That's dope, man.
And in the kitchen, I do the same shit. I told my cooks, I was like, look, you don't got to like me. You might think you're better than me. You might think I'm not worthy of being your sous chef. Every fucking cook thinks that they're better than their sous chef.
Of course.
Until they become the sous chef and they realize,
Yeah. It's like you can only connect the dots looking backwards, So it's like.
Exactly. As long as I'm in charge of you, as long as I'm the one charged with your development, I'm going to help you grow to the best of my ability.
Right. I wonder why that is.
I tell them that,
I wonder, because back in the day, I respected the shit out of my sous chefs, like whatever you say, I got you, and it was like, then there was like a switch, because when I became sous chef, that's when it started happening to me. Like everybody thought, okay, I don't think you deserve this. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck you mean I don't deserve this? I've been here for 3.5, 4 years doing this shit. Like a whole high school career I've been here, And
what's wild though too? You came up in the Metalwood. Like you came up in the pinnacle of fine dining.
Yeah.
And you see what these fine dining World's 50 best restaurants look like as far as the management level from all over the world. Like they're all these Scandinavian looking dudes. They all got the shaved sides of the head with the big coif of hair.
Yeah.
Or a man bun or whatever. You know what I mean? They all look the same. They're all wearing skinny jeans. And granted, Dave, you could fit in skinny jeans and you got a fro with the man bun in it, but you don't look like them. You know what I'm saying? You tat it up. You're from fucking Meriden, Connecticut. And people who don't know about Connecticut, it's a lot more rougher than you know, fucking Mystic River.
Yeah, right. That's what people think. They're like, yo, Mystic River.
Mystic Pizza, Mystic River.
Yeah, like, bro. Apparently,
Connecticut.
I saw a chef that got, I think, nominated for a James Beard out of Mystic. Yeah, straight up. It's crazy. Well, you know, one of my chef friends out in the East was telling me that he's been to one of those restaurants that won James Beard, and he's like, bro, I'm all for everybody getting a seat at the table, but he's like, when you come to the fucking table, you better have some good shit. You know what I mean? And I get his point, you know, because not to take anything away from this restaurant, but it's like indigenous food, but then you got calamari on the menu. You know what I'm saying? And so it doesn't make any sense. Again, I haven't fucking eaten there, so I don't know. But, you know, it's like...
Look, we're saying what every chef thinks, bro. We say what every chef talks about in their restaurants, what every cook talks about. As much as these chefs act like they're all friends, we hear it from, and every single chef listening knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you know.
All these cooks talk shit to each other about every other chef. Yeah. They're not all friends.
No.
So I have no problem saying, like, I went to X, Y, and Z restaurant, and motherfucker had calamari, and he had Italian food on the menu, but he was talking about all these Native Americans, indigenous, whatever the case is.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, because it don't make sense sometimes. Like, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
And that's what food critics rip apart, too. If you read, like, New York Times, I used to subscribe to New York Times to read the old Pete Wells articles.
Right.
Just because I learned so much. I used to see, like, oh, these are all the restaurants I like.
Right.
What did he not like on these restaurants?
Mm-hmm.
So, Laconda Verde, it's a Andrew Carmelini restaurant in New York.
Right.
Got 3 stars in the New York Times. I was like, what made it not get 4 stars? He was talking about a soup that was on there that was plated in a wide bowl. And the bowl made the soup get cold quick because it was too open. He was like, if it was a tighter bowl, the soup would stay warm or hotter longer.
Mm-hmm.
Shit like that, right? That's the level that they break down the shit, from the music to the bowl to the spoon to the menu, like the little things.
Ain't nobody doing
chefs,
that.
We're pointing out. Yeah, we're pointing out big shit like, look, this calamari on a fucking menu in the middle of Oklahoma. It don't make no sense, bro.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, some things don't make any sense, and you just kind of roll with it. In this day and age, you got to make your money as a restaurant owner. We've seen it time and time again. All these guys got fried chicken restaurants now. Like, they all got fast casual concepts, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's what makes money at the end of the day.
The burger joint.
Yeah, exactly.
For
and
sure.
I think now we're learning that I think the tides are going to change, and you're going to see chefs opening up casual spots first and then their fine dining place. So we might see in our time, like, the oldest chefs getting Michelin awards and shit. Like Kinch, you know what I mean? Getting it when you're fucking 50. So there's no end to this shit, and I don't really think that. But you are right, man. No, people go places and they're not truthful. You know,
exactly though.
You know, I've been at 12 days where you got chefs talking about shit about chefs in the other corner of the room, and you're like, why'd you even invite them here? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing? Like, well, what is the point of this? You know, like, I'm not gonna invite.
Seems fake, right?
Yeah, it's like inviting guests to your house and then being like, yeah, I don't fucking like the way they're dressed and shit, and like, but you don't do that, you know. So
yeah, I just want them to see how nice I'm living.
Exactly. That should be like that, man. Because I remember when there would be some other restaurants that came like more casual. It'd be like, yeah, whatever. This is a throwaway dinner. No worries. It's all good. And then it'd be like these 3 Michelin star dudes would show up, and like everyone would get roasted all day long because the stakes were so much higher that it'd be like, I don't want you to embarrass me in front of this other highly, whatever team. Like, I remember, bro, when the French Laundry came through, Breeden was showing us the herbs. He opened up this fucking quarter pint of herbs, bro. They were all like frozen. It was like they were at the top of the low boy and they got too much condensation. It just froze over. Bro, he opened that shit up. It was like wilted greens. And he looks at us both and he just closes it and like puts it aside, doesn't say shit about it. And we're like, bro, someone's going to lose their job. Like, you know what I mean? So, but I mean, they should. I don't know. That's how high the stakes are. So if there's no
That's why we play the game at such a high level.
Exactly. And if there's no consequences, how are you ever going to learn? You know, if you never got fired from anywhere, you haven't been trying hard enough. That's what I've been told by one of my chefs. It's like, if you haven't been fired, you haven't tried hard enough, you know? And
I agree, bro.
yeah,
I agree.
Dude, you got to fucking put yourself out there, you know, and just do what you got to do to get ahead. Listen to your boss. That's the most that is what's going to get you ahead, you know? It's hard though coming up in those kitchens because most of the motherfuckers next to you are like, fuck this guy. Especially when I rolled into Meadowwood, it was a hard family to break into. I was there for like fucking a couple of months before, you know, motherfuckers were like, oh yeah, David. You know what I mean? There's this dude on pastry.
Yeah, exactly.
That was straight up with me. He was like, yeah, I don't know your name. I'm not going to learn your name for 6 months. So just if you're here 6 months, like, then I'll know your name. And I was like, okay. And it was kind of like a challenge. You're like, all right, well, because every day I was afraid to get fired. So I was like, all right, he gave me my first marker, 6 months. There you go. Look at this. I'm getting on IG right now. Costow talks so much shit about Dave Chang, and he came the year after. It's true, bro. All these dudes talk shit about each other behind closed doors, and now we're doing it out in the open. So we can say, okay, Daniel Patterson, you're a fucking dickhead. But hey, still come on the show, bro. I still want to know about your restaurants, what you did, what you were thinking about at that time. You know, the scandalous shit that went down. Like, why do we got to wait for the motherfucker to write a memoir? You know, I ain't trying to read 500 pages. Bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to listen to an hour and a half podcast about the bro, and that's it.
And if anything, it'll make me understand you a little more. It might make you, like, oh, okay, he was, all right, for instance, right? How many fucking line cooks you know trying to spit game to other female line cooks? Like, you see them flirting with dishwashers. You see them.
Right.
These kids all date each other. You know, restaurants, they all date each other. Mm-hmm. But let's say 10 years down the line, he gets, becomes a crazy point chef, and the same girl he's spitting game to is going to now turn around and say, yo, he was a scumbag. He was always flirting with me. He wasn't the same guy 10 years ago. He was a kid your age just trying to holler at you.
Right. Yeah.
If he was harassing you, it's a different story. You know what I mean? Off with his head. But if he's spitting game and you're returning it and you was his ex and whatever, you got your heart broke, then I understand. But, it's a touchy subject. I know, whatever. But we see it all the time. We see kids date each other. I call them kids, they're cooks.
Yeah.
Cooks dating each other and shit. And they get mad and then they hate each other and they sabotage each other and then they want to play these HR games. And I hate it because they destroy restaurants from the inside.
Yeah, man. It's like home wrecking happening. And, I used to get afraid of like, oh, shit, the cooks are dating. Like, oh, no. And then as the executive chef at Charter Oak, I was like, you can't pay attention to the shit that's going on personally because you just can't. Because ultimately when tempers flare, like, whatever comes to the top of your head is going to come out of your mouth. And it might be some personal shit that they told you or you heard, you know what I mean? And it's like you don't want to fucking take it there at all. So it's like for me, I was like, I'd just rather not know. Updates on this Costow Dave Chang thing. He goes, Dave really can't cook, so Costow wasn't wrong. Bro, all those dudes.
You want what's funny?
Yeah, what's up?
When I got hired to Charter Oak, I was actually the pastry guy at Major Domo Meat and Fish in Vegas. It's a Momofuku restaurant.
Right.
And so did that girl Emma. Emma got hired from Ko or Sam.
Right.
One of those. So she was a Momofuku person too. When he hired me, he was like, "Hey, so Dave's restaurant Empire's falling apart, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I guess." So.
No, that's just the thing with that dude is he wants to be the best. All those dudes, Skeens, Costow, fucking Patterson, they all wanted to be Thomas Keller. But to me, I'm like, bro, I'm sorry. That spot has been taken by him, right? So what are you going to do, right? It sort of like we all picked up the French Laundry book. We all started cooking the same food, and the chefs at the time started running restaurants like he ran the restaurants. And it's like after a while, you're trying to be someone else. You're cooking someone else's food. I don't think, obviously, Costow found his own food, his own voice. But, like, all that was out of spite, bro, because, like, fucking homeboy didn't hire him one time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like that I call it a Michael Jordan slight. It's like when somebody does something to you and you just fucking take it upon yourself to like become successful to spite them. I feel like a lot of
shit.
Yeah, bro, a lot of the chefs that came up today have stories like that. Oh, I went to go get a job at the French Laundry and they didn't hire me. But bro, at the end of the day, like if you look at the laundry, you look at the dudes who never made it out, like the Bredens and the dudes who are just indentured servants forever. Like, you know, and I always ask myself, I'm like, why hasn't they come up to David Breden and says, hey, why can't you have your own restaurant? You know? And it's like, he's just a fucking monkey in a cage at this point. Like he never does any interviews. I've asked him to be on fucking Sucio Talk. He can't, bro. They can't talk. They got so many fucking NDAs in that fucking place. Like, you know, what are you going to do? But I would like to lift the veil a little bit and talk about those stories because ultimately, like, you know, I'm not trying to tear anybody down, but they're facts. Facts are facts. So why don't we just say the facts and, you know, deal with the backlash?
Without a doubt, bro.
Yeah. Motherfuckers aren't ready, man.
For instance, right, with the Momofuku shit, David Chang, I don't think he could cook. Like,
right.
But he was a thinker. Like, so I was lucky enough because it was an opening. I got to work with him a little more, like, face-to-face. Not too much, probably 3 or 4 times in passing through the course of a week. And I saw him open up a can of Spam and have these blocks of pineapple. And we had just taken over the Carne Vino. It was an old Mario Batali restaurant that had the rotating spits, the radicchio.
Right.
So I'm looking at it. I'm like, it was taking up space. I'm like, what are we going to do with this? We're not a Brazilian restaurant. David Chang was like, we're going to make a secret menu, and we're going to do a Brazilian style service, but with Korean food. So I'm listening to him talk. He's telling us what it was called, Codename Siberia or whatever. That was like our code name for it or whatever.
Right.
So I was like, all right, so I did Siberia. He was like, so we're going to take spicy meats. We're going to make spicy and salty meats, and we're going to make starchy sides. And with these starchy sides, they're going to get full. They're going to be the kind of sides that have to be created. Like, he was giving us the mission and was allowing us the freedom to operate.
Right.
So he was like, they're going to have smoky food, salty food, spicy food, and we're going to need this food to be spicy enough to kind of push them into that, like, potato salad.
Right.
To cool it down. So they eat it and they get full. And we're going to give them rice and gravy, potato salad, bread, fucking starchy vegetables, kimchi. So it made sense. Like, it was spicy and it kept pushing you toward that food that will fill you up. So you ain't going to sit there camping on meat all day.
Right.
And then he was like, think about foods the kind of food that goes on these spits. You know, they're meats that take time to cook and break down. He goes, what other meats do that? And he was like, bulgogi. And then I started thinking, like, oh shit, Puerto Rican pernil takes fucking hours to break down.
Right.
That'll work. You know what I'm saying? And then I started thinking like that. Then he was like, Spam, it's meat, right? It's ham. Ham and pineapple go well together. He goes, put it on this fucking spit and roast it. So we started doing shit like that. And we were running these mock services only for the staff. It was free for the staff and the family. People who came in actually try it. And it was working. Like, we saw it coming together. And he wasn't liking the desserts, but I wasn't making the desserts at the time. It was some other sous chef running Garmo.
Right.
And then my boy was like, yo, just come out with some desserts. I'm going to give it to Dave off on the side. If he likes it, we're going to just run it, and you're in charge. I gave him sour green apple. He was like, oh, this makes sense. You know, all the smoky, fucking fatty, spicy flavors in the sour green apple just makes you want to clean your palate, and it's refreshing, all this shit. But his thought process is like, yo, anything that you cook, think about it not as a dish, like a classic dish. Think about it as almost like an equation. Bulgogi is a food that needs to be broken down over time. Pernil is a food that needs to be broken down over time. Shawarma is a food that needs to be broken down over time. It's interchangeable. So if you want to make, like, let's just say you're making a pernil spot, Dave, you can use a shawarma spit. It saves space. It's vertical. You can cook it over time. You slice pieces of pernil off of it, and you serve it to the people. And for those who don't know, pernil is pork shoulder, Puerto Rican pork shoulder, garlicky. It takes like 5 hours to cook, depending on the size.
Yeah.
But imagine cooking it like shawarma, like Turkish shawarma, or I don't know, I guess it's Turkish.
Right.
But that spit roasted food, that's how David would approach it. So he's a thinker, how do I make food that's Korean or that's Asian, but using all the utensils that I have around me, all these items, all these machines, all these things. and just put my food on it. And that motherfucker, I give him that. He made a damn good restaurant. The music was dope. The environment was dope.
Yeah.
There was a lot of show, a lot of scenery.
But
seeing him try to fucking pluck meat off an oxtail was a headache.
Right. Well, I'll say this, like, even if the record states that the man can't cook, like, he's an innovator, and he is where he is for a reason, regardless of all the trash he had to go through to get here. I would say he is a respected chef, dude, and the proof is in the pudding. He puts out talent. I mean, there's a guy named Kerry. I don't know if you ever worked with Kerry in New York, but he's got a string of restaurants down in Florida right now. He worked at the Charter Oak for a little bit. He opened it with Kat and them.
Okay.
And, like, now he's in Florida, and he's got 5-6 restaurants down there. And it's like that right there, that restaurant group shows you how to run a restaurant. Numbers, fucking everything.
Yes, I agree.
Whereas, like, a place like Charter Oak, you don't really have the infrastructure, and you're not in a city to be able to build so many people, right? Because, like I said, the burgers pay for the caviar. So if you're selling only caviar, you only can afford the team around you, and sometimes you have people doing 2 jobs, and that ultimately is like leads to the downfall of a lot of things, and things fall through the cracks,
I agree. And then a lot of things that I noticed too with the Charter Oak was we're getting kids from the Greystone CIA, and they do this 6 months to a year, and then they bounce. By the time we make them, we take them from green to a little hair on their chest. They move on to the city they actually want to work, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They go back home.
Yeah, it definitely is victim to that. I would say they have a good mix of older cooks in the area, just older Mexican cooks in the area that kind of just like, hold the team down, prep cooks, and I don't know how it is now, but I know that, like when I got to Charter Oak, there was dudes who've been working there for 3 years, I don't know if that's the case anymore, but you're right, man. You can't build a legacy on young cooks. Like, you gotta, it's like, yeah, you can, right? Because now they'll go out into the world and be like, oh, I cut my teeth here. Cool. You learn how to cook there. That's great. But they leave in 2 years, and then they don't really get, what they need. So really, it's like to catch the best cooks, I think, is after that time, when they like, okay, I'm comfortable enough to work any station. I'll go to this restaurant with a little bit of like chip on the shoulder. I need to prove myself. And then that's like kind of like when the magic happens. But
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, first restaurant I worked at, I stayed there for fucking 3.5 years, and I've spoken to a lot of different chefs who took a lot of different routes. And if you move around to restaurant from restaurant to restaurant, you're a better cook, right? You have more techniques. You've seen more things. If you take your time and work at like 3 or 4 restaurants over 15 years, you will learn how to manage. You'll learn the ins and outs of that restaurant. You'll see it at, within a span of like a life. I don't think 2 years is really enough time to learn everything that you can,
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I mean, like for me, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a mover. Mm-hmm. Not because I wanted to. I have 2 daughters, and like when I was at Jean-Georges, I was unpaid, but that was back when it was okay to be unpaid.
Right.
Luckily, me going to school at the same time, the Army is paying me to go to school.
Right.
I was out the Army, but then part of the GI Bill is like you get a monthly stipend for as long as you're in school. Mm-hmm. So for me to try to survive and actually cook and shit like that too, I went to barber school, bro. I've been cutting hair my whole life. I know how to cut hair with my eyes closed.
Oh,
but
really?
I only rolled in a barber school just so I can be a chef, like so I could keep cooking and get paid.
Right.
Shit like that, you know what I mean? As long as I was physically in the school, spending 20 hours a week at the school, which is like a second job to me in that sense, I can afford, because the Army is affording me this opportunity to work unpaid at Jean-Georges or shit like that.
Right.
And then I was working 2 days a week on the weekends at ABC Kitchen, which is his other restaurant, like for $10 an hour, so that I could get a train fare.
$10 an hour.
And I got 2 kids.
Yeah, no, that's rough.
2 girls.
Did you now? Obviously coming up with your wife and all that. Like, how was that during? You told her, "Hey, I'm gonna go work at this place for free." How was that received?
All right, so I love my wife. She is the reason I'm a chef, because I was cutting hair and I was trying to go to school for computer science or some sort. It was cybersecurity.
Right.
But when I never had a computer growing up, so when I went, these kids are speaking coding and shit, and I went to coding 101, and they knew the coding language, and I didn't know shit about it. So my teacher kind of ignored me. I ended up dropping out.
Right.
And I was all depressed, and she was like, "Babe, what's wrong?" And I was like, "Yo, you're pregnant with twins. I don't got no career.
Right.
I don't know what the fuck I'm doing." She was like, "Yo, you like to cook? Just go cook." So I went to New York. I went to ICC because of Bobby Flay. That's where he went. At the time, that's all I knew. I was like, "Yo, Bobby Flay's the best chef in the world." And then my boy was like, "Yo, look, you don't got no experience. John George is the guy to go to. He'll take you. He ain't going to pay you. You just stage and get it done." Mm-hmm. So I did it, and I told her, I was like, "Yo, babe, there's something special here. Like, fuck Bobby Flay." I was like, "Yo, the pastry I just had blew my mind. I had like 3 pastries, and they all blew my mind. Mm-hmm. I got to be here." And I was like, "Can we stretch this money that the Army's given us to kind of do it?" And she was like, "All right, we'll work it out." She ended up staying in Texas while I was in, taking care of newborns. Mm-hmm. She was staying with her mother while I was in New York, living on my grandma's couch. And, thank God my grandma lives in a rent-controlled apartment in Brooklyn. She wasn't stressing me for nothing. So I was sending like 90% of the money back to Texas where my wife was, to take care of the kids. And I was falling asleep on trains, sleeping on the bench in Coney Island, just trying to go back and forth to John George. Sometimes I wouldn't even shower. It was nasty. I would wash my face, wash my hair, and then like change my jacket and go right back to school and shit. Mm-hmm. It was fucking nuts. But she saw me like how enthusiastic I was, and she was just like, "Yo, if you're getting after it, I could support it. If you love this, if you like it, I love it." You know what I mean? Yeah. And she was just always happy for me with that. But when it came to like, "Hey, Dave, you want to live in New York? They got to pay you." And the time came that I graduated. They offered me a job, but I had no money. I was broke. So I went back to San Antonio, and I just made it happen in San Antonio for 2 years. Word. Where'd you work in San Antonio? She was this place called Cured. It was the only like big James Beard nominated spot. And bro, everybody would try to go to work at this place, and people would quit in days, weeks, months. It was revolving door of pain. Was it rough? But it was like everybody's. Bro, it was terrible, bro. If you were Garmo, you were pastry, you were pot washer, you were charcuterie, you had a fucking freezer. It was a freezer that was like a chest freezer, but the wire wasn't attached to it. It was being held together by not even electric tape, but by blue painter's tape. And there was days I would come in, open the fucking chest to check all the ice cream counts. Yeah. And it would all be melted. God damn. And we would just run to the store and get Bluebell ice cream and just fucking start putting that ice cream out of box containers, bro. Just roll that way. I mean, shit. Who was the chef there? Chef Steve McHugh. He actually has a few spots in Austin now. I think one of them is called Lumiere, like a tapas spot, but he never won the James Beard. It was called Cured because he fucking beat cancer. He beat cancer, and then he kind of based it around charcuterie. So it was like a play on words. Right. That was a dickhead. I'm talking about a dickhead. Yo, we used to get drunk after work and say, "Yo, cancer should have killed this motherfucker." Damn, we hated that motherfucker. Yeah, that's crazy. There was this one. There was so much wild shit going on there. His wife was the HR girl, and she was drunk every day. So if you went to go try to report some shit to HR, that shit got swept under the rug, and he got fired like a few days later. Right. So you guys just didn't say shit? No, we didn't say shit. This girl cut her fucking finger off, at like the tip of her finger off. Right. While she was like chipping on parsley or some shit, she was rough chopping it, left the finger out, boom, cut it off. It was like a bad cut. Like they cauterized that shit with silver nitrate. I remember she came in, and she was like my station buddy or whatever the fuck, like my station partner for a long time, and then she got promoted. So happy for her. She came in like 2-3 weeks later after she was, cleared to work. She shows me her finger. That shit looked nasty. The whole time she was gone, they were making fun of her losing her finger. They were like taking like fake fucking pieces of meat, and they're like, "Yo, look what I found in the parsley," like shit like that, wild shit. When she came back, they tried to get her to quit so that he wouldn't cover the cost of the medical shit.
Oh.
And bro, they put her on bread duty, like cracker duty. It's this fucking bar cracker shit, like making like matzah, bro. Like everybody hated that job. It was miserable. It's like rolling pasta, but it's bread and it's dry and it's whack.
Oh.
And for 3 weeks she did that shit. She waited till they covered the fucking cost and then she bounced.
Good for her. Good for her.
Yeah, I was proud of her.
Yeah, you got to play.
But bro, that place sucked.
Damn. See?
I learned how to cook though. They cook some damn good food.
Right. And you traded the shittiness for that. So you spent 2 years there.
I spent 1.5 years. I tried to do 2 years. I ended up going to Hulu. Hulu, like Netflix's rival Hulu.
Really?
They opened up a spot in San Antonio.
What?
Yeah, Hulu, whatever. So
yeah,
like
yeah,
when I was
yeah.
there, I
what
was
was it like?
I was at
like at the app?
a call center.
Oh, the call center.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
got it. What were you doing? What was the call center? Just like dealing with like people's accounts and shit?
Yeah, dealing with miserable people who's like the world ended because they couldn't watch this fucking TV show because they don't want to pay or whatever. You know, it's like people scamming you.
Yeah.
And they talk to you crazy. You know, like you got to listen to it too. Well, that's why your stupid ass is working at Hulu. And I kind of needed that too, right? Like,
right.
Because like you ain't even doing nothing with your life. You hear that for fucking 6 months straight. You know what I mean? But also, I was slinging empanadas there. I was slinging plates. I was slinging, bro. I'm a hustler, so like,
right.
You got empanadas, arroz con habichuela, arroz con gandules.
Bro, you're fucking Boricua, man. Every Boricua always has somebody that sells shit at lunchtime.
Like, for real, bro.
Dude, my mom right now, she's doing moonshine.
Oh my god!
Straight up pitojo, bro. She makes pitojo in the kitchen and fucking infuses it with tamarindo and shit, and fucking sells it to her coworkers. I'm like, God damn, mom.
Yo, that shit's in our blood. That hustle's in our blood, bro. I love
it. It shit's in their veins, man. It's just like, and the innovation too of Puerto Ricans. It's like, yeah, and you can fix anything with duct tape. Just fix it real quick, make it work. You'll be fine. Like, dude.
Or you got a broken ankle, duct tape that shit.
Exactly, bro. It's like my dad. My dad has a Mitsubishi Mirage. That shit has like 600,000 miles on it. He still has that shit, bro. He hit a horse in that fucking car, and he just fixed the headlights. It's all crushed in and shit. Fixed the headlights. He's like, oh, it's good. Got another 100,000 miles on that thing. And I'm like, all right, Dad. You know, like, whatever, bro.
We just put it out of its misery.
Exactly. But he don't think that way, you know? They're just like, nah, it's fine. You know, and I think that mentality also like saved me a lot from freaking out about dumb shit.
Sure.
You know? Just like, you know, whenever you have a bad service or whatever it was, like, yeah, obviously you take it to heart, but like fucking dust yourself off and you come back the next day. You know?
Exactly.
Shit.
Nah, 1,000% that shit, bro.
Fucking.
But yeah, man, with that Hulu shit, man, slinging them plates, bro. Like those people kept telling me, like, yo, what are you doing here, bro? Like, what do you open a restaurant? You know, obviously, I'm not gonna open a fucking restaurant,
yeah.
But they were like, yo, get back out there. Yo, I don't want to see you here in another month.
Yeah.
Yo, I got my paper straight, and I went back to New York.
Yo, it's dope that people that work shitty jobs like that, like, they recognize talent because they're just amongst people who, you know, they don't chase their passions like that. So they don't work that muscle of the thing that they could be good at, you know? And it's like when they see talent for real or something like that, it'd be that one person and be like, hey, man, you gotta get out of here, bro. You can't be working here, you know?
And I love that shit.
Shout out to those people, man. That's God right there. God.
For real, man. And you know what's cool about Hulu? They would let you watch Hulu while you were waiting between calls.
Oh, no shit. So you probably watch mad shows.
Yeah. Food TV, like a fucking nut job. And then I would low-key watch YouTube videos. But the Hulu was on mute, but I was watching, like, Top Chef.
Right.
As far as they could see.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm learning how to make this cake or this fucking dish or this dish or that. So I was studying, you know, I was still studying my craft, and I was also seeing the business part of it, how to make plates for profit.
Right.
But Hulu gave me that time to reset for a little bit and also make me realize, like, yo, you got to pedal to the metal. You don't do this shit at all.
Yeah, that's the way I think it needs to be,
bro.
man. You need to fucking dive in head first, and if you bash your head, you fucking duct tape. And you just keep swimming, bro. You just keep swimming, you know? What can I do?
Eventually you'll float. Dead bodies float too.
Exactly. Dead bodies float too, bro. That's why I came to the realization, I think that we're worth more dead than alive, worth more sick than healthy to America, just the way the health insurance works and shit. So it's just like, no wonder why we are where we're at. Like once it costs money, like once they make more money off us being dead, that's it, bro. That's the end of the world right there. Yeah,
bro, especially when people like stop caring too, you know what I mean? Like they don't give a fuck. All right, we got 1,000 dead people, we got $1 million.
Exactly.
And I don't get to see these people's faces.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to see their family, their faces, the actual pain. I just get to see them as a number on a fucking piece of paper.
Right.
I'll sign that check every day.
Exactly. It's fucking nuts, dude.
Yeah.
Well, man,
bro.
You're gonna fucking end this motherfucking Sucio talk right now.
No, man, it was a pleasure checking in. Thanks for having me.
Lots of love, man. Always. How can they find you on Instagram?
Chef Mark Rodriguez.
Mark with a C.
Mark with a C. C-H. Yeah, CHEF. MARC Rodriguez. I talk a lot of shit. Me and David are a little ghetto brown kids.
That's right.
You might see a bunch of stupid ass pictures.
It's all good.
But Dave,
bro.
let me just say, man, I'm proud of you, dog. I really am. I always just try to show love, man. I'm proud of you. You're doing your own thing. You're about to open up a restaurant that's yours, that you have a stake in. You know what I'm saying? And I'm do everything I can to support it from the other side of the country, bro. Seriously, like if I got friends that are looking for work, I'm gonna send them your way. If I got people who are looking for a restaurant, I'm gonna send them your way. I just want nothing but success for you, dog.
Thank you, bro. I really appreciate that, man. It's chefs like you that I do the show for, and like I've always wondered where, and the only reason I found you guys is because of this. And so thank you. I really appreciate you, man. Anytime that I could do anything for you, like let's cook some fucking dinners together. Let's enjoy ourselves,
It's a plan, bro.
Yeah, man. I'd love to cook for you and your family too, and so let's fucking make that shit happen, man. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Make it happen, brother.
Yeah, man. I'll see you soon.
All right, bro. No
lemons. Chef Mark Rodriguez, the man. That was him calling in. I keep telling you guys, 510-463-1145. 510-463-1145. You can call in, be on a chef podcast, talk to Sucio. I'm opening up a restaurant. More on that later. This has been Live with Sucio, Mondays at 10. Peace.